Hi, I am IT PhD and we continue our adventures in C language. So we learned how to make small game to fight goblins to get some gold from them in our past lesson. So now it's time to go deeper into C language. So we will try today to get a player nickname. So it could sound very easy actually. It's like, oh, getting player name, it's so easy. But actually it's getting input and strings, work with strings, with characters in C language. It's very unusual thing. I mean, it's usual, but it's not obvious. So to do so, we will first comment out our past work. We will return to it back, but a bit later. So to comment out part of the code, you could use such notations like /*, and to end certain block which you want to comment out, it's */. So we will comment out everything for now like this, and we will start from scratch to get into strings. So first we create our function and return 0 from it. So what's input? So when we ask player, let's ask him printf, what is your name? So we ask player what is your name, and player should enter like my name is Nicholas. Okay. We need to store this stuff somewhere. How to store it? C language, there is no possibility to store whole string. C language store each character separately in its memory. It's how it is in C language and actually in everywhere. Even in like Python, it's just kinda, we do not see it, but inside of the computer it's all stored one by one, each character separately. So in C language we do it by defining type char, like character, and we create an array. It's called create an array. We will call it nickname. And when you create array, you should always define its size. Not always, but yeah, we will do it. So in our case, we will create a variable nickname with the type character char and its size 8. What does it mean? It means that we create in the memory of computer, we create kinda eight empty, eight empty boxes where user will be able to put something. For example, like his nickname. And when he will do it, at the end, also, when you work with strings, you should put escape sequence, which represents like end of line. /n, it means, as you remember, line feed. So it's kind of when you press enter, the same thing as when you press enter. So it's stored in the memory like this. And the thing is that all arrays, they have certain rules for numeration. Each of these boxes, each element of array has its own number, and numbers of array, it started from 0 always. So it's, maybe you heard some jokes about programmers, about coders, that they count stuff from 0. Actually, it's how it is, because these arrays inside of the memory, they have so when you want to know what's inside of certain element of array, you should get access to it by its element number, and this numbers, it starts always from 0. It's very important. So what we see here, we defined array with the size of 8 elements. We have here 8 elements, but if we will kind of want to see last element, we should get access to the 7th to the box with which has number 7. So it's not very obvious for new guys and gals in C language, so we will make some experiments into it, so you will see that it's not so bad. So we have here, I just commented out, so you will see how it works. So program give us prompt, what is your name, and we should answer. And for input, for user input, there are plenty of different functions which you use. Most simplest one, it's gets to input strings, yes. And gets, it's very bad function. You shouldn't use it in real life, but I'll show it because it's kind of the most easiest one. But it's very dangerous in real life to use it. Better to use scanf or even fgets. We will come to them a bit later. So for now, let's use gets, and we will what is doing. We used a get char to get one character, and we actually could continue to use get char, but we need to include it to the cycle, like to get stuff from the buffer, which is not really fun when you get some strings. It's much easier to use such functions. So how get works? It's just take user prompt and put it to certain variable. For example, I will have nickname variable, which is right now it's like empty array, which may filled with some rubbish inside of memory, because memory sometimes it has some unknown variables when you just create an array and it's not initialized yet, so it's kind of empty right now. It could have some bad things inside. Later on I'll explain this more detail, but for now let's just get user input, and then after we will get it, we will say hi and use %s. %s, it's formatted element for this printf function, which will insert here string. It's very funny thing that in C language there is no string type. So if you would try something like this, string, there is no string type in C language, but there is a format which give you access to strings, which give you possibility to print strings, because basically string, it's a pointer. Later on we will talk about pointers, but it's kind of pointer to the first element of array, to this one. We have this address and we could use it. So this %s, it's kind of we insert this first element and all which going on after it till a special symbol like /n. So let's do it. Nickname. So we're printing hi nickname. Let's try. We will say what is our name. Our name is Nick, and he say hi Nick. That's great, it works. So let's add exclamation mark even. Let's make some fun and get some more information which will help us in the future. Let's count how much symbols player entered. To do so, we use function strlen. So to use this function, it's not included to standard input-output library, so we should use another function which called string. So there are another library which called string. So this library has a lot of different ways to manipulate with strings, and strlen, it's one of them. So let's print now what is the length of nickname. Your nick got d elements. So how much elements got a nickname of the user? So let's put it here to this function. Let's go like this. So it just return a decimal and it will print it. And also add new line here. Okay, let's start. Our name is Nick, and your your nickname got 3 elements. Yeah, that's right. And it's not counting this sign /n, which we enter. As you remember, when we press enter, we also input an 10th ASCII symbol. So if we would look at our favorite ASCII table, we will see that this line feed 10th, we also have it, and it's at the end. And also another interesting function, which it's nice to learn right now, it's size of. Size of, it's very unusual thing. Size of, it's kind of operator. It's like plus or minus or divide or asterisk. So size of returns us number of elements, but not elements which we input, like strlen. Strlen just look for characters in certain array. So it's just counting elements of the array before /n, before escape sequence. So size of is just counting number of elements, total number of elements for array. And this function, you will use it all the time in C language. So let's learn how to use it right now, because later on we will need it. Let's summon it before, like, what is your name? Please enter max, let's call it like max size of name is, and we will show what is the max size of the entry here. And let's press /n here. So the thing is that remember, we have 8 element array which has these 8 elements, and they start with a 0, which is important. So how much symbols we could have, what the size could be maximum, and we run it. Max size of the name is 8. Okay, so if we will try to enter 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, okay, you see it works. We have these 8 elements printed. So, but the funny thing that actually we entered right now not 8 elements but 9. Why? Because we entered 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then we pressed enter. So we actually entered one more element, and it could sound for you like, oh, okay, why it's important? It's important because this way we could make buffer overflow. We could make overflow, and it could be very dangerous for computer safety. I mean, almost all hackers, almost all vulnerables in any program, all this malware, viruses, they all, not all, but a lot of them comes out of this problem when there is a buffer and hacker enters more than he could. So he get access to a memory which he shouldn't be able to get access. And it's problem of this function gets. So this function, it's even was excluded. So it's excluded from C standard. I do not recall. I think 2011 standard. It was excluded from there because it's super dangerous, and a lot of problems in the world of software came out of this function. So now you shouldn't use it actually. But yeah, I just wanted to show you the easy way for now. And what to use instead of gets? There are different functions. My favorite is actually scanf. You should also be very careful in using it. If you will use it not carefully, it will lead to problems also. So how to use it? In scanf, you should, it's like scan formatted. So you scan user input in formatted way. So in first element, in brackets, you put what you want to scan, like what's type. So for example, we want to get string from user. It's the same as let's for now move this stuff down. So it will be a bit cleaner. Our code will be a bit cleaner, so it will be easier for you to operate. Yeah. So first we show a format like string, or you could, by the way, enter decimal or different stuff like hexadecimal, different formats. But we will use for now string. And then you enter where to put this value. So for example, to put it to nickname. And when we use such format, it's kind of the same as gets. So let's test it. Let's run. Our name is Nick, and he say, okay, hi Nick, great. But the thing is that as it's formatted, scanf formatted, you could also use after %sign, you could define number of input which you want to get. So if you will use such format like %7, then you do not even need putting like s. If you use %7, you will be able to get input precisely only maximum 7 characters. So let's try it. 7 elements. Let's try it, and we will try to put here a lot of stuff. But you see, it accepted only this. This stuff protects us from buffer overflow. So if you are going to get user input, always use scanf with a size, and this size should be smaller than your array. Smaller, because yeah, when user press enter, it's also give us this character. So you should always also save it. What's the problem with scanf function? What's the difference between scanf and get string? The thing is that get string, let's test it again. Get string nickname, and we will put here, like for example, 80 elements. Like 80 elements, it's all right. It's not a big array, and we will try. So we could enter here like, what's our name? Our name is Nick, like name and surname, like Nick Smith, and it's accept everything. It's accept Nick and accept Smith and put it to this array. But if we will use not gets but scanf, it won't accept. Okay, let's allow like 12 maximum nickname, or okay, 79, which will be proper correct thing to do. We will do it, and we will write Nick Smith. It will accept only Nick. Why? Because scanf read the input only till it will meet symbols /n or /t or just space. So it's how it works. That's why you should kind of you could be sad about it, but actually there is a way how to allow it. You could, as it's formatted string, you could replace this s by such stuff. For example, you could allow with such symbols. You could allow to accept everything till this means till it will meet /n symbol. So till user press enter, it will get all input. So yeah, it could look scary at first, but soon you will get used to it and it wouldn't be scary. So now if we will try like Nick Smith, okay, it works. Some people, they do not like such stuff. So yeah, you could use a different way. you could also, there is another function. Yeah, in C language there are lots of different functions. fgets and fgets works. It accepts 3 parameters. This function, it accepts like name of the array where we will put everything, then size of this array, and as a size of this array, most of people, they use very good thing. They use this size of operator, which we already used, so we know how it is now. So we just put size of nickname, very easy thing. Or you could actually define it manually, like say, okay, 78. Yeah, or you could use size of. And last, we put here source, because fgets could get some stuff from reading file, for example, from a lot of different outputs. So we will use here standard input, std in, like constant. So when you enter something from keyboard, it's always be standard in. And now, if we will try it, let's try it. We will say like, what's our name? It's Nick. You see, it works. It gives us everything. And also, it's actually moving our exclamation mark to the next line. So why it is? Because fgets gets everything. So it gets also /n. So when we press enter, it also gets this symbol. So yeah, while scanf do not do it. So I prefer for scanf, but fgets could be very useful. So how to remove this /n? How to deal with it? Actually, it's quite easy, because we have already our strlen function. So let's do it together. It's not hard. So after we have this standard input, after we with fgets we put everything to nickname. First, we want to get let's create a new variable. We will call it like length, and it will be equal to the size of the input. And then we know that last element of the input it's /n. So we could do something like this. If like, yeah, we should to check before we should remove it. We should check, is it there? So we will prevent some problems. So if nickname, we will access this array. We will access this array element. You see, as I said, we have each element of array has its own number, and it starts from 0. So yeah, before we'll do it, let's check it, by the way. So you will see how it works. It's kind of important thing. So for example, if player entered his nickname, let's print first element, and you could get access to it like this. So in square brackets, you get access to certain element. So it's very important not to mess it. When you define array, you define its numbers, how long it is, this array. But then after you define it and you put here its type, so how to understand, is it definition, or you kind of want to access 8th element of this array? So if there is a type, it means that it's okay, it's defining. We defining this array. So now we want to get access to the first element of this array, which is actually 0 element. So we will like first element. First element, it's %c. %c, it's mean character. So if we will try it like this, yes, what's our name? It's Nick. So you see, first element it's n. Yeah, I forgot to put next line. Nick, first element n. You see, so we could access to each element of this array like this. And now we could check also, for example, if we will take back to the previous problem, and we could check what's the last element of the array which we get from gets of the input. So we put this len here to get this number. What's the last number of this array? So let's try it. What's the last character of this array? So we will print it. Nick, and first element, it will be not first, but okay, this time it will be like last element. And we will show it not as a symbol because it will be kind of empty, but we will show it as a decimal. So we will check it, Nick, and last element is 0. 0, you see, because it's empty. Yeah, null character. We will have here null character. So now let's take a look. What will be one previous to last? Len minus 1. And len minus 1 will be 10th. So you see, the thing is that gets, when you put input with the gets, it's get everything to this array, but also it put at the end it puts like empty character, this ASCII empty character. So first it puts like Nick, then it's put line feed when we press enter, and after it put null character. Yeah, yeah, because you see we made len to find the length of it. So to get access to this to our character which moves line to the next, we need to get access to len minus 1. Yeah, so let's do it. We go back to this problem which we have. Yeah, let's show it again. So Nick, and you see our exclamation mark goes to the next line. So we want to replace it. I'm showing it right now just for you to train a bit to work with strings, because it's super important thing. In C you could think that okay, it could look like, oh, it's hard, but actually you will get used to it, and the good thing that you will control everything, and it's a really cool feeling actually. So if we want to get access to this len minus 1 element, yeah, if it's equal to /n, then we want to replace it just to like /0. Yeah, something like this. So if it's equal to n, then we will make this array element equal to empty character. So now you see it works. We removed this next line character, which is very nice thing to do. So again, as I said, I prefer using not this way to work with a simple input, but scanf, because yeah, you see, you do not need, you have possibility to operate it much easier. But when you will work with some file input and actually working with programming in C language, it's actually working with a file, because file, everything it's a file, even your standard input, it's also a file, you could say. So it will be very useful for you to remember what I told you today. But for now we will use just this simple scanf, so our code wouldn't be too big. So yeah, we could remove all this stuff, because now you know how it works. So we will get nickname in a simple way, so without space. I think let's do it like this. And also, by the way, you could actually have two inputs, so you could have nickname and you could have like surname. So you could put here several inputs. This way you will be able to get spaces. Surname. It's just an example what you could do in C language. Yeah. So let's try it. So what's your name? Nick. If you will press Nick, you see now it's understand you, because you kind of defined it like this. So for now I think it's all right. Let's put it to our program, this stuff, to our main program. So a player will be able to put his nickname. We will just, let's remove for now these surnames, just an example how it could be. And we will put it to our main code. So next time we will continue to work with it. So simply do like this. Yes. So first we have new variable nickname, and when our game starts, it will first ask what's our name, and then it will go. Yeah. So let's remove this comment from here too, and let's test it. What's your name? Nick? Hi, Nick. You see, but you see, as you remember, we have this problem when you make scanf like this, and it scanf everything but the enter character. So it's, as we have it here below this place, where we had problem in past lesson when it was like duplicating this line. It's the same thing, because when we get the name with scanf in the prompt, it still leaves enter hotkey. So how to deal with it? To clean the buffer, we need to clean the buffer before we will get to the fight. To clean the buffer, we could simply make like get char like this. So just get one character. Or actually it's better to do a bit more complex, but properly, like all coders doing in C language. So we will create small while cycle to clean the buffer. Yes, you will use it all the time if you will code in C. It's kind of why some people do not like C language, because it's very hard to work with strings here. It could feel like this, but actually you will get used to it. And the good thing that you control everything. So we will create small cycle where we will put this get char. And so while get char isn't equal to /n, like to enter, this cycle will run. What does it mean? It means that we check user input, we get something from the user input, from the buffer, we take something, a certain letter, and we look, okay, is it next line or not? So if it's not next line, then we make another empty cycle. You remember we talk about empty cycles, so it's like empty operation here, and it's continuing to getting something out of the buffer before we get next line character. So if we would test this stuff like this, you see now it works. Now we have proper beginning, like hello, Nick, and we could fight with goblins. The thing is that it's better to do it properly, so it's better to add a variable, yeah, like char C I added just, so we will call it C. And then you could check not only for next line symbol, but also for end of file. End of file, it's constant, which better to use just in case. So how we could do it? It could look a bit overwhelming, but yeah, it gives you a good example how C works with strings. So we should, like, we want to assign to C, to variable C, user input, yes, and we will put it to the brackets, so we will make it like it should be performed first. That's why I put these brackets, small brackets. And then if stuff which inside of here, if it's not equal to n, and so this logical operator, and do you remember we used or before, so now and it's not equal to end of file. What is it? What's EOF, end of file? It's basically a negative value. So if like when our input end, we do it so our cycle wouldn't go into endless cycle, infinite cycle. So we basically look for n character, and if we meet it, we exit from this cycle. So it's how you basically clean all buffers in C language, something like this. I mean, a lot of programs, they have such sentence. And actually, what I could say, still, I think, I'm not sure what's better, how teach you better, to teach you in easy way or into right way. Still, scanf, it's not the best way to use it, because we can't define size of here. You can't put something like size of and then nickname. You can do something like define some constants and try something, but it's actually not really useful. So best way not to use scanf, but to use fgets and then work with it. It's much safer way. So yeah, let's write it again, so it will be easier for you to remember how it works. So first we have our buffer. Yeah, actually don't be afraid to repeat stuff when you start coding, when you learn how to code stuff, because it's how you learn. You should repeat something a lot of times, and then you will be quite fluent in it. So first argument, it's our array. Then we have our favorite size of, which actually will save you lots of trouble if you get used to it. It's the best thing ever. And then we have our stdin, standard input. So this way we read stuff to nickname, and now we want to clean this n character, but actually yes, you see here our cleaning buffer, it wouldn't really help us because we already put /n to the nickname. Actually we could go through this array with a while. Better not with a while, but with a for loop. But yeah, for now let's do it as we did before, so you will again learn a bit. So we take strlen, we take our array nickname, strlen nickname -1. Yeah, I a bit yes, it may look a bit hard. You could add your length here, but yeah, it's kind of possible to write it like this. It's good for training. So if it's this stuff, if it's equal to and next line, then make this thing. Yeah, you see, with this way we need to use strlen twice, so yeah, I think let's do it like this. Okay, let's make len. So we wouldn't need to summon this function twice, so our code would work faster. So let's create len. Len will be equal to strlen. And then we could use, yeah, it will be easier to read. You see, yeah, it's, I think I was wrong when I started something overcomplicated. Better to do all the stuff easy. Yeah. So we have, by the way, priority of operators. I'll tell about it in one of the next videos. But such conditional stuff, like is it equal or not, it has so it's this action performed much sooner than when we make arithmetic operation. I'll show you next one day some tables about it. But if you are not sure in priority, you could always use brackets like this. So if our nickname, yeah, it should be like this. If our array nickname -1 equal to, and next line, then nickname, then this element we just replace it. Then it will be equal to, it's how you could perform, how you work with input from gets. So, and now we do not need, yeah, by the way, it's still a good thing to clean buffer, because let me show you. So let's try this stuff now. Nick, hello Nick, now it works. You see, we cleared the buffer, but let's imagine that we put, okay, yeah, C undeclared. So we need to add here char C. Interesting thing that by default char, it's in different system, it's not actually, we do not know char type which boundaries that it has. So it's up to 255 the maximum value, or it's from like -127 till 128, something like this. We do not know this. So to know it, you need to include limits. So there are problems with such stuff, even with types of variables. So better always actually to say that you have unsigned or signed. But yeah, for now I just want to give you an example that in C language there are lots of different small details which influence kind of code quality, and it's, so it will be more it will have more protection versus some bad things. But for now it's all right. So we use this char C. Yes, I just forgot it. I removed it. And yeah, let's try. We will try something huge like this. Okay. Here, yeah, as we have very big nickname, let's make it smaller, like 10. Yeah. Okay. Let's go again. Something big. You see, it got 10 things, and now it works. It's because we have this while. But if we'll remove this while, take a look. We put all this stuff, and okay, if gets get correct values, gets only take like 10, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 9, and 10th it's this /n. symbol, which we then replace to 0. Because why, by the way, we should replace it to 0? I forgot to say that all strings in C language must end with null character. It's kind of obligatory thing. All strings, if you want it to be a string, if you want to use stuff like strlen, or if you want to print it with this %s, so if you want your array to be a string, it's always should end with a null character. If it's not obligatory, your array kinda could have just random values like a, b, c, and the last may be a. So there could be no 0 character, but then it wouldn't be worked as a string, so you wouldn't be able to work it correct. So all strings must end with null character. That's why we kind of do right thing when we turn our input from just regular input of everything which it takes. We turn it to the string with this sequence. So even though we didn't, and fgets, it gets only certain amount of input, size of. So it takes these 10 characters, he put it here, and all other stuff, it still stay in the buffer. It still stays there. So then after some time, when our program start to get chars, as this buffer, it start to getting stuff from this buffer. That's why we have such problem. So you always must clear buffer in such cases. After user input something, you should clear buffer, something like this. So yeah, let's call it clear buffer. With such way, you kind of protect your program, you see, and it works properly. But let's test something else. So let's run our program and let's enter here not a long name but short one. Let's enter like Nick, and you see it give me another prompt, and I have to press enter again. So I have here empty space. Why this happened? It happened because we have this our clear buffer thingy, this while. How it happens? Let me show it from the start. So we start our program, we press Nick, and then we press enter. We just filled fgets with a Nick, and then we're coming to this while. And our cycle, to decide should it perform this cycle, it should perform this getChar function. So this function, it has to kind of run it. So we have this getChar. That's why we have here prompt suggestion, because right now buffer empty. That's why it suggests that do you want to enter something here or not. So how to do how to solve this problem? Quite easy. And here we could just simply make else like this. So now if we have short nickname, we will just remove new line character and replace it with null character. So our string will be all right. And if it will be long nickname, then we will clear the buffer and it will work. So let's test it. Let's press Nick. You see it was short nickname, and we cleared the buffer. And now if we'll enter something very long, we clear the buffer and it also works. So it's how we deal with it. Of course it's not all, because user could enter just empty space and we want to filter such stuff to ask him again But this stuff we will do in our next lessons. So you might be a bit discouraged about strings in C language. Yeah, it's kind of the hardest spot in C language, it's strings. I mean, okay, there are some more hard stuff like pointers, but actually, it's not really. C language work with strings on very low basis. I mean, it's very kind of close to hardware. You know, you should every symbol should be stored in particular place in the memory. It shouldn't be lost. You should look at every spot. While in, for example, in Python, working with strings, it's so big pleasure and very easy. But still, it's possible to work with strings in C, but you just need to get used to it. And also, there are some libraries, some shortcuts, and I'll show them later to you how to make it easier a bit. So, thank you very much for watching. I think it's enough for today. Write your comments, ask your questions, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a good day. Bye-bye.